Welcome everyone, the fourth time we've run this, and again in the spirit of improvement, what we did last year was ask you for feedback about what we did well and what you wanted to see in this year's symposium, and so we've changed it in response to what you said. So what you told us was the thing you liked most about this symposium was hearing about the work of your peers, sharing the stories of success from within our department. So we've welcomed Britt to talk with us first, and we're going to spend the whole next hour talking about things that people in our department have done, which is really exciting. Thank you. I had to do that because Joel said to me this morning, what order are the talkers going in? And I said, I don't know, I'm too busy worrying about the cheese. Can you sort it out? It was worth worrying about. So hang around for 5 o'clock. There is really good cheese. So the other thing that I was really pleased about this year was that we put together a little committee to organise today. So thank you very much to my quality reps who put their hands up to help on the organising committee. The bit I was really pleased about was when we sat down to think about who we were going to invite to come and share the story of their success, we really struggled to pick out the 6 that you're going to hear from today. So 4 years ago, we had to do a bit of scratching our minds, thinking about, we actually covered over about 3 years worth of projects just to come up with 3 to tell the stories of at the first symposium. And this year we had a list of over 30 projects, and we had to cross them off, and then we uncrossed some, and then we went back and we narrowed it down to 5, and we took that list to the committee, and then the committee said, but we also want to hear about Bryn's project from Talbot that wasn't actually on the original list. So it's really, really exciting that we've got so much good work to share. Obviously this is only a snapshot of all the great stuff that's going on, but I hope it inspires you to look at the one-page plan more often, ask questions of your peers when you see them in different places about projects that you haven't heard about yet. So that's all from me right now. Thank you to all the speakers who have very diligently followed our request of sticking to the number of slides, and fingers crossed you're going to stick to the amount of time. We did do a little sneaky on you and ask you to prepare for 6, and we've got a little spare window, so I'm not going to cut you off at 6 minutes, but I am going to cut you off if you go too much longer than that. So stick with what you've practiced. It is a great skill to take lots of complex information and distill it down to not very much, so let's see how we go. First up, NIkki and Sarah to tell us about their new early rehab group. Thank you both.
Hi everyone, just for any external staff members who don't know us, my name is NIkki and Sarah, and we did this early ACL reconstruction rehab group last year during our grade 1 rotation in outpatients. Just a quick acknowledgement to Chris Chamoli and Chris Ramley who helped us get the project off the ground, and also to Carolina and Michaela who are helping us follow through with some extra data collection this year.
So what was the problem that we identified? Well, when we were in our grade 1 rotation, we noticed that we had a lot of ACL reconstruction patients coming through outpatients. However, they had a really high fail to attend rate. They were slow to progress in their range of motion and strength, and they were unable to attend our midday gym groups due to their work or school commitments. So our aims of this project were really to try and enhance adherence to physiotherapy in this population, to help improve outcomes, as well as to provide an accessible group-based intervention for these patients.
So what do we measure for our particular section of this? We looked at attendance, as Sarah mentioned, that this was a significant problem for our one-to-one appointments. And also we looked at consumer feedback at 2 different time points. So at January, at the end of our rotation, and then again just mid-April, partway through this current rotation, just to look at satisfaction for the group itself.
So what was the change? So we implemented a targeted and specific early ACL reconstruction rehabilitation group. It was conducted on Mondays at 4 p.m. to be accessible to our patients after work or school, and ensure that this was centred around phase-based functional rehab that is supported by current best practice evidence for as early as 1 week post-operatively.
Now our results, so if you think about the 2 things that we were looking at, firstly the attendance, This graph here just down the bottom, it might be a little bit small for you to read, but the important point is the line that's going over the top through this region here is the amount of patients that have attended the group with us. Now, the bars underneath are the maximum amount of patients that we would have been able to see had we have been doing one-on-one appointments, and that's based around them actually rocking up to the appointment as well. So at every single time point along here, we've actually seen more people than we could have.
So our consumer feedback, as Nikki said, was conducted in both January and April this year. In January, we had some really positive feedback which described the group as a positive atmosphere, that it was nice to know that you're not alone, and they liked being in a group with other people who had the same injuries as them, and they liked checking in with the physios once a week. When we redid the surveys in April, we had similar feedback, people describing that it was great to work with other people with the same injury, as well as the fact that it was very motivating to see where other patients were at as well.
I think the fact that we had 2 time points here as well, we had really similar feedback, just goes to show as well how well the current grade 1s have taken on the project, and that this isn't something that's isolated to clinicians, it's a group that really works and the structure of it is really sound. So in terms of the next step of this project, what we're going to get Carolina and Michaela to carry on with at a later time point is looking at these objective measures here and just at some of the outcomes. Now, in terms of the comparison that we'll be doing, it'll be the group versus one-to-one patients. So it's not going to be to the status and to the specificity of a full research project, but it will give us a little bit of a snapshot of what's happening with these patients and if they're getting as good or better outcomes than our one-on-ones.
And some further scope for this project is perhaps to conduct a research project from this, to obtain some more data and maybe engage the stakeholders such as our orthopaedic surgeons in our work, and to track patients over a longer time period to obtain some more meaningful data which we don't actually have in this population in the public health system.
Now, insights during our project, a couple of challenges we encountered. Being a 4-month rotation, we had limited time to actually develop and implement the program, and also just managing at the same time as completing a full outpatient caseload. So we didn't have allocated time necessarily to set this one up. This was what we did in the times when patients wouldn't actually come to appointments, so we tried to use that time wisely. And also because of the rapid way that we actually instigated the program, we hadn't fully considered some of the benefits that we actually got, which included psychological benefits, people talking about how they felt really good with talking with other patients about their progress, and so we didn't have an objective measure from the start to then be able to compare to.
So some key learnings really from our project is that even in a short time period, in a 4-month grade 1 rotation for example, you can still make a meaningful change to perhaps the service delivery or the patient outcomes through conducting a quality project, but the really important thing is to hand over thoroughly to the next grade 1s coming through to ensure continuity of the project and the quality of service, as well as it helps to enable ongoing long-term evaluation of the project as well.
And in terms of for next time, what we would do is that first point there about the identification of key assessment and evaluation time points. One of the challenges during the actual program itself was to remember, as you're rehabbing these people during a particular session, oh, you're 6 weeks into the program, let's do these assessments. So just really highlighting them, so develop the forms a little bit differently, and also to have a look at the outcome measures that we were using. So what we've evaluated has been quite easy because it's just been attendance and also consumer feedback. But for the outcome measures themselves, trying to look at some more specific and valid measures.
Cool.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nikki and Sarah. Fantastic work. It's really, really exciting for me that 2 years in a row we've had stories from grade 1s about really, really significant projects. And it's one of the things that we paid deliberate attention to a couple of years ago, that we wanted to get away from the idea that grade 1s do a project on their rotation just to do a project. And I think we've seen real benefits from changing our focus there and encouraging you to find things that are actually really important for patients and for staff by the looks too, that you found a more efficient way to work. So that's really good. Thanks a lot.